How do you close more deals as a mortgage broker? It's probably one of the most asked questions that people talk about, especially when they become a mortgage advisor. And even people who have been doing it for a long, long time. If you can't close deals, you run the risk of really having to go and leave the career and go and get another job, or being stuck in this average kind of level. And so in this video, I want to unpack 5 things that I've seen coaching hundreds of advisors at this point, hundreds of advisors, and I want to share them with you. So hopefully you can close more mortgage deals too. So the very first thing I would say is start with a proper discovery call. If you want to be able to sell more and close more deals, you need to make sure you start as you mean to go on. Big mistake people make when it comes to mortgages as a broker is they have these kind of back of the cigarette packet kind of calls. You know, just pick up a phone and say, yeah, hi, yeah, I can help you. Tell me your income and all of that. And that's not what you want. Actually, what we should be looking for is a very structured, the way that I look at it within the Mortgage Business Mastery System where I coach, we're looking at like a 5 to 6 step process, 4 main points in the beginning and an end, but having a proper discovery call that's completely structured so we know exactly what's happening. They're normally about an hour long, 45 minutes minimum to about an hour. That is how you're going to set yourself up for success. How on earth do you think you're going to be any good if you are literally spending 10, 15 minutes with them? You're only going to get the basic information enough to fill out an application and or a fact find. And if that's the case, you're never getting to know the client properly, and they're never getting, more importantly, to get to know you. And that's how it works. People buy from people who they like and they trust, not from the rate. And if you keep going down that and shortening it, you'll probably lose. So start with a proper discovery call first. The second thing to think about then is price anchoring and setting expectations early. So price anchoring is effectively, and I talk about this a lot in any of my content, is it's effectively setting out what a price or something that's going to be compared for everything else. Meaning, if I talk about, let's say, insurances, for example, if I talk about insurances and I say, how much money do you spend on pet insurance? The anchor is the pet insurance. Now you wonder why you can't get high premiums. It's why you see with other people anchors they use with insurances, things like 10% of the mortgage or 5% of the net income. These are the ones I use, is the 5% net income. That's a higher anchor. You see often people anchor their mortgage fees, and the best way to anchor the mortgage fees is not anchoring it to anything small, anchoring it to like stamp duty. So price anchoring is going to let your fees and everything you do seem reasonable. Price anchoring is very important. You should look it up. You should learn it. It's a very, very useful skill, which is the other part of this point, which is the setting expectations early. If you set your stall out from the very beginning and they know exactly what to expect, they will be way more likely to actually work with you and you'll close more business. And the reason why this is the case is because people are happy to do stuff as long as they know what is expected of them. They're usually coming to you because they want you to take control. That's kind of the whole point. And so if you don't do that, you are going to allow, it's kind of aimlessly, no one's leading the situation. So set the expectations. This is what I expect from you throughout our process. I want documents at this point. I want, you'll be updated at this point. You're very clearly saying what's going to happen. And if you do that, people will be much more likely to pay your fee and want to work with you. Third one we have is understanding the goal. Understand the goal of the business, okay? The goal of what you're trying to do. You're not trying to save the client money. You're not trying to quote win the business. Obviously you are, but not in the way that you think. So the goal that people get confused about with mortgages is they always start talking about, I can save you money, I can get you a better rate, I can get you a better deal, we have exclusive rates. These are all the crap that we see Connells and all of those people talk about. We are not doing that. And people who think that's what they're selling, you will lose. It is a race down to the bottom when you do that. What you are actually selling, the only thing you're selling, is you. Now, I used to call this making the odds in my favor. And let me describe this to you. So let's say, and this is what happened when I was a broker. I was in an area, local area, where there was five brokers, me and 4 others. So, and they were all pretty much estate agency based, roughly. It was in this town. We were all, I'm sure many of you here have worked in similar spaces. Some are independent, some are corporate. I was independent at the time. I was on my own, but I worked through a firm that put me in there. And what the odds of me winning that business, because they've normally seen everybody, is 1 in 5. Because everybody is saying, I've got exclusive rates, and if you do this, they do this stupid conditional selling stuff that we've seen all over the place. You shouldn't do at all, but people still do it. And the chance of me winning that business is 1 in 5, because it's, do I, which one of these people do I like? So then we're looking at fees, we're looking at rates, we're all looking at very minimal stuff. What I realized though was, I don't like those odds. I don't like those odds at all. And when I'd ask them, I'd say to them, who have you spoken to? And they'd go, oh, I don't remember his name. He works at that place. And I was, my biggest fear was, I don't remember his name, or I don't remember her name. I didn't want to be that guy. And you don't want to be that guy either. You don't want to be the person they don't remember. You want to be the person they do remember. And I realized with this, you don't want to be the person they remember, you do want to be the person remember, irrespective of whether it's good or bad. If they really love you, that's great. If they really don't like you, that's great too. Because the decision now is not 1 in 5, it's 50-50. It's either, do I like Ash? This is what I've kind of realized. Do I like Ash, or do I not like Ash? Not, which one of these do I prefer? If you understand the goal of your appointment, your discovery call, and the whole transactions is to make them feel something, a feeling of absolute, oh, this guy's awesome, or this girl's awesome, or a feeling of, I cannot stand this person, they're so annoying. That's a win on both sides. That's absolutely a win. You want people to feel something, because if they feel it, the decision doesn't become, it now said it, the decision is now, do I like you or don't like you? Do I want to work with this person or do I not? Not which one do I prefer? And that's how you win the business. It's how you win the game. And I use this strategy still to this day with what I do now. You play a different game. You become a market of one, and that means that people have to choose you or despise you. But either way, you create raving fans. It's such a great way of winning more mortgage business if you utilize that. But if you're constantly going, I'll save you deals and I'll get you better rates, you won't do as well. Next point we have, number 4, which is pre-handling objections. So if you want to close more deals, again, we've talked about setting expectations, but there are objections out there. So big objection being about insurances. Why you wouldn't have them. Pre-handle them before, bake them in and address them before they come up. Now, why do that? Well, because if they're addressed before they come up, there is no reason to object. There's no reason to object, because they can object with you bringing it up. If you bring it up to them as to why they would object and the reasons why, some people, you just say, look, there are 3 reasons why most people, there's 3 reasons why people wouldn't, won't take insurance. Number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is this. Now, they might then go, oh, I would be number 3, or I'd be number 1, or I'd be number 2. That's fine, because you're in it now and you're doing it way earlier. The sooner you do that, the sooner you address objections, the better. It's that scene in 8 Mile where Eminem raps all of the bad things about himself. And then he's like, tell them something you don't know about me. Then he's like, I've used everything against you. Everything you're going to use against me, I've used already. So tell them something else, something new. That's exactly the same here. When you pre-handle objections before they come up, they aren't objections. They're just part of the process. And that's how trust is built significantly more, because it's like, oh yeah, of course, he's mentioned that already. What you don't want to do, and you want to avoid as much as possible, and it's hard to do, but you want to avoid getting into confrontation with a client. That's always going to be the hardest bit. But pre-handling objections is going to do that. If they're objecting, you're dangerously close to confrontation. And the problem with confrontation is, psychologically, no one wants the answer. They just want to win. And so they're not in a receptive way to see if they're right or wrong. They want to now, once we're in confrontation, we just want to beat the other person. And so and my dad used to always say to me, no one says, thank you so much for proving me wrong. You don't want that. So you need to try and remove that as much as possible. You will close more deals if you do that. And then the final bit that you need to do when it comes to my final point with this is end with a clear path. So make sure that whenever they speak to you, that they know what the next clear path is, what the next thing to do is. Never leave with it being kind of obscure. It's always, this is the next thing you're going to do. Once you finish this is what I need you to do next. Constantly make sure it's very clear to them what the next steps are. And if the next steps are absolutely, look, there's nothing for you to do now until this, just make it very clear. If you just leave them alone, they will get confused and they'll go away and they'll start to think that what you're doing isn't working or you're not doing anything. And by the way, this is the goal for anything. By doing with what I do, you have to make sure you constantly set what the next thing is expected of them. Just a small step, it doesn't matter. But if you don't, they will just fade off into obscurity. That's how you close more mortgage deals. If you want to learn how to, do more in sales if you want to be more sales tricks and tips, check out the video on screen. You can give it a click.